Hello and welcome to this new section and the first lecture of that on practicing coding in this course on how to become a successful software developer. So in this section we'll help you learn how to work on coding projects, both small and large, to apply what you would have learned and gain you would have learned in the last, as we had outlined the kind of things, the basics in the last section in the four lectures, and how can you convert that to practical experiences, the topic of this section. So in this particular lecture, we will talk to you about how to work on these coding projects, whether small or large, where you can apply what you have learned and gain practical experience. So any thoughts on how to work on coding projects? Any thoughts that you have at this point of time? See, working on coding projects is the best way to apply what you would have learned, what you would learn, and gain practical experience as a programmer because there's no substitute of learning by doing. And what are the various things that you can consider on how to work on coding projects? Let's take a look at each of these as we go forward now. So you need to start by, whenever you want to start a project, you need to determine the purpose of the project. Why are you doing that? What problem will it solve and what it will achieve? And then set specific, measurable, smart goals, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound goals, which outline what you want to accomplish with this project. For each project, you must set these three things: purpose, the problem you will solve, and the smart goals, right? Then you select a project and while doing that, you need to select a project that aligns with your interest and skills that you want to develop. Skills that you want to develop because the purpose of the project is to learn while doing, right? For smaller projects, you could consider doing a to-do list app, a simple game, or a personal website. For the larger projects, you can think about a budgeting app, a blog platform, or a portfolio website. And these are just illustration. I mean, you would get a lot of project ideas as you start looking around. Then you need to plan your project. So create a project plan which outlines three things: your scope of the project, what is it that is inside the project, what is not the part of the scope, what are the features you're going to develop as a part of your software development, and the timeline. Three things, right? Then you need to define two things again. One is the technologies that you would use and the programming language that you will use. And finally, decide the project's architecture and structure. What is the way, what language, what programming, and what would the project look like, and what would be the structure of your project? So decide these things, and this is how you can plan your project. Then divide your project into smaller manageable tasks or user stories. So you have project at the top, then you divide into multiple tasks that are there, and then divide each task into subtasks, and finally you reach down to what is called a terminal element or a work package, which is where you would actually work on, right? So like developing a feature to help a user do something is a big task. Now, what that involves, you need to then list down what are the things that are part of that. These are the subtasks, and what are the work packages. So break the work down into smaller elements that you can actually work on. Then you set milestones with specific deadlines to keep yourself on track. And these milestones could be at the level of task level or subtask level. You would set milestone at the work package level, though that would be a detailed project plan. So milestones would be at the level of task or subtask level. And this could including completing the user registration system, implementing a specific feature, or finishing a user interface design. Then you create a version control repository, and you should use, or we recommend to use a platform like GitHub or GitLab, and this will allow you to track changes and collaborate with others. And we will have a section coming up where we will take you through the details how to create this version control repository. Then you start coding. You begin with the core functionality of your project. Then you focus on one task at a time and ensure that it works correctly before moving on to next. So you have planned all the various work. So take one task at a time, which is the core of your project. Focus on that and ensure that you complete it correctly before you move on to the next task. Don't get into a a kind of situation where you start multiple tasks and you leave all of them hanging. Then regularly you need to test your code by and fix the errors and issues as you see here. And you could start with something that you have done. And in this, the debugging is a critical part of the development process. You start with a execution that you've done. You put testing values. You observe how the program behaves. If it doesn't malfunction, wonderful, great. You go back and start doing something else. If there's a malfunction detected, you need to stop execution, inspect the program, formulate hypothesis of what went wrong, apply corrections, and then resume execution again. So that's how the testing and debugging process is that you can use. Share your feedback with others, such as friends, peers, and online programming community, and ask for feedback. Now, this constant feedback would help you improve your work over a period of time and as you go forward. Clearly document comprehensively your code. Now, this will make it easier for others and yourself to understand and maintain your project. And we are giving you a link here, or a YouTube link, where you can go and look at this video on how to document your code, right? So having looked at some tricks and tips on how to practice coding, what do we do next? We have more tips and tricks of the trade coming up in the next lecture also. So stay tuned and let's talk about in the next lecture how to do practice coding. What are the other tricks of the trade that you can use to practice coding? So thank you so much for watching this first lecture on practice coding in this course on how to become a software developer. I hope you're continuing to learn new things, continuing to enjoy. And I do look forward to see you again in the next lecture. If you have any questions, do feel free to message me. I'll be happy to answer your questions. And do feel free to download the PDF file in case you need to refer back to anything that I've talked to you.